What if I told you the same exercise a bodybuilder uses to build a massive chest is the exact same exercise an NFL linebacker chooses to become more explosive, more powerful, and faster? This clearly isn't limited just to one sport. But same bar, same lift, different intention. Here's what most people get wrong. You hear the common adage, bodybuilders train for size, whereas athletes train for performance. Now, people seem to conflate that once an athlete gets bigger, they become slower, sluggish, less agile, and generally less explosive. No, that isn't the case. That's far from it. Think about bodybuilding training as building the engine rather than simply as a training methodology to slow you down. Now, bodybuilding has its use in many sports and conditioning spaces. However, you still have to train your sport as an athlete. I think that's quite the most obvious answer or solution to the problem. Bodybuilding and athletic foundation at a fundamental level is practically similar, just with slightly different intent. Hypertrophy training, in essence, is high volume, taking your reps close or within proximity of failure, and training intensely. Even some of the world's best athletes, your sprinters, basketball players, runners, and triathlon athletes use bodybuilding staples such as your deadlift, Romanian deadlift, bench press, squat, shoulder press, and so on and so forth. But these will never go away. Okay, here's what gets fascinating when it comes to differentiating bodybuilding training and athletic focused training. That is rate of force development. How much force can I produce in the short period of time? Because athletes have milliseconds, half a second, a split second to execute said action on the field or track. And how much force, especially force, can they produce without needing a lot of, let's say, going up several gears until they reach their optimum capabilities? Because everything goes at a fast pace. To the average viewer, it may seem like 1 to 2 seconds, but when you're on the pitch or on the track, the game or the event just goes like this in a split second. Gone. You don't have time to think, you don't have time to gear up. You only move fast. As an athlete, the question you may ask is, how strong are you? How quickly can I access this strength? Can I really outmuscle this player? Or do I need to go up several gears before I need to? But when you need to go up those several gears, time has already walked past. An opposition player has already gone across the field and scored their winning goal. That's the importance of making and trying to extract as much marginal gains as you possibly can. That's why bodybuilding training is fundamental. Train your sport, but also know your foundation. Bodybuilding training is not bad for you. It is functional. Bench press, squat, deadlift, any lift, you name it, athletes need it. It's built off bodybuilding principles and fine-tuned with your plyometric mobility as well as cardio-intensive exercise. bodybuilding is king to everything that we do. I'd like to think of bodybuilding as merely the base, the engine of the vehicle, whereas the athletic, more sports specific training as fine-tuning the engine that's already built. You can't skip out on bodybuilding and think, oh, because I'm an athlete, I can just do box jumps without any resistance. No, you have to be strong fundamentally. That's why you see footballers, as they transition from the youth to the men's game, they have to bulk up. That's just a fundamental, rudimentary aspect of any sports. It doesn't make you any slower, any faster. Sorry. Okay, let's take a footballer for example. From the ages of 14 to 18, they're playing against mainly scrawny, skinny, frail looking, and not mainly muscle bound footballers, because understandably it's a cardio intensive sport. However, when you transition from under 18s to under 21s to now fully indoctrinated into the man's game, the physique has to be built up no matter what, because sports and conditioning scientists around the world know the impact of added muscle tissue. It's not gonna slow you down, it's not gonna make you any less explosive. The only way in which getting bigger will slow you down is, in my opinion, excessive fat gain. I'll use Jude Bellingham for example. You can notice quite a stark difference in his physique when he was in his first season at Real Madrid versus his second season at Real Madrid. It's quite a noticeable size difference, and he has much broader shoulders, much more muscle bound. That second season where he had bulked up, most, I'd say, football spectators had assumed because he had bulked up, he got slower, less agile, not as precise with his technical ability. Whereas I disagree. The muscle didn't make him slower. The added fat gain did. And that's what people like to conflate at the same time. Bulking will obviously induce a bit of fat gain. That's a given. And when a footballer has to adjust to this new added muscle tissue, he now also has to factor in he's added a bit more fat. So during the season, when games are thick and fast, you may not be on your diet as precisely given the resources available to you. So yes, you may still remain at that consistent body weight and only be able to shred off that fat purposefully in the off season, because the preseason is make or break for any football team and any football club players in sports. Wow,